Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you for being here with me today. I'm Hannah from Hand Plans, and today I want to talk a little bit about something a little different. Up until this point, my aisle of 3 videos on my channel have been planner related, but today I want to talk about books. One of my other hobbies is that I love to read, and so today I wanted to share my February TBR, or my to be read list, and some romance books for February. So stay tuned and let's get into it. Today's video is going to be my February to be read, my TBR, and some romance recommendations and some romance books that I want to read this year. Since February is our month of love and our month of Valentine's Day, I thought it'd be really fun to talk about romance books because that's a genre that I really got into last year. And I kind of started talking about books and posting about books and looking more into new releases and getting back into reading. I always loved to read, and last year with being home all the time, I had a lot more time to read and a lot more time to explore new releases that I haven't done ever. So I'm really excited to share with you what I've read last year that I really enjoyed and what I want to read this year. So first I'm going to do my February TBR, then I'm going to do the romance books that I want to read this year, and then last, I'm going to do my romance recommendations. So stay tuned. Let's jump right into it with our February TBR. The first book that I want to read in February isn't even a romance, but I figured I'd get it out of the way. It's The Wife Upstairs by Rachel Hawkins, and it is, I don't know what it's about, but I know it's a thriller, and that's all I need to know. I know that it's nice and short, so hopefully I'll be able to get through it in about a week or so. I don't read very fast. I take my time, so that's that on that. But yeah, I'm really excited to read this one. The next one that I want to read, now we're going into romance. I want to read Red, White, and Royal Blue. It is a male romance. It's about the hair on my book. One of the princes of England and then the president's son, the first son of the US, and how they kind of have this, back and forth, and then they get, obviously it's a romance, so they obviously end up in love and together forever. But I've never read a male romance before, so I'm really excited to read it. I've only heard amazing things about this book, so I'm really, really excited to dig into it. And plus the print in this, because it's a hardback, is ginormous. So hopefully I'll be able to get through it pretty quickly. What do I have next? The next one I want to read in February is The Bride Test. It's the second in the series with The Kiss Quotient. It's the sequel to The Kiss Quotient. I have not read The Kiss Quotient, but I found this at my used bookstore for literally $3. So I had to buy it, and maybe I'll read The Kiss Quotient if I like this one. The next one is The Wedding Date by Jasmine Gilroy. I hope I'm saying that right. Yeah, I love it because it's a romance, and I don't really know what a lot of these are about. I don't like to read the synopsis for the most part, just because I don't want anything to get, spoiled. I don't want to give anything away before I've actually read the book. But yeah, I've had this one on my shelf since like the summertime, and I haven't read it yet, and so I would like to read it this month. The next one I want to read in February is Crazy Stupid Bromance. It's the third installment of the Bromance Book Club series. It is probably one of my favorite romance series that I've read this year. I love it. I'm just, all you're doing is root for these characters. It's such a fun time. And so this is the third book in the series, and I'm so excited to jump into this one. And then the last romance that I want to read in February, this is a really ambitious list. I don't know if I'm going to get through all of them, but is The Hating Game. And I've heard so many people talk about this book and how much they love it. And hate to love, or like enemies to lovers, is one of my favorite romance tropes. I love enemies to lovers. I don't know why, but it's one of my favorites. It's just very exciting and fun to read. I love it. So I am really excited to read The Hating Game. This is not like the US cover. This must be the UK cover. I don't know, I got it for Christmas as a gift, so I'm just happy that I have it, and I'm really, really excited to read it. This might be the first one I read in February, so I'm excited. And then I have some honorable mentions. These two books are books that I have checked out from my public library, and so I have to read them before I have to bring them back to the library. So those two books are Una Out of Order and The City We Became by N.K. Jemisin, and Una Out of Order is by Margarita Montemor. I started Una Out of Order back in December, and then I couldn't renew it because it was on hold, so I had to return it. So I only got about 50 pages in before I had to return it, so I'll probably just start over because it's not a big chunk that I missed. But I'm also so excited to read The City We Became. I really want to get more into fantasy and like sci-fi this year because I read a ton of romance last year, and there are some really awesome fantasy books out or coming out this year or came out last year that I really, really want to read. So this will be like the beginning of that. And that is the books that I want to read or finish in February. It's kind of ambitious, so we'll see what I get through, and whatever I don't get through, I'll just push it to March. Okay, so next I'm going to talk about the romance books that I want to read in 2021. So romance books that I'm highly anticipating for this year. I have 4 of them next to me, and then there's a couple that haven't come out yet, so I'll try to put a picture somewhere over here. I don't know how to do that quite yet, but if I figure it out, you'll see the book cover pop up here. So the first one that I want to read this year is Beach Read. I don't care when I get to read it. I'll probably want to read it in the summer because it's called Beach Read. But I've heard mixed things about this, but I'm still really excited to read it, see if I'll enjoy it. So yeah, I want to read Beach Read sometime this year. I want to read Party of Two next year. I really wanted to read it like in November during like the election time, but then that election time was like very stressful. So I didn't get to it in November. And I also wanted to read it in January because of the inauguration, and just it's technically about like a lawyer and a junior senator. So because it's got that government tie-in, I really wanted to read it when there's like big things happening in the government, but I don't know. I'll get to it sometime this year, hopefully. So yeah, I'm really excited to read this one too. And then the next one that I have is The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren. I am so excited to read this book because again, it's another enemies to lovers, and I love enemies to lovers. It's one of my favorite tropes, as I mentioned earlier, and I've just heard good things about Christina Lauren and their writing. So this will be my first Christina Lauren book, so hopefully if I really enjoy it, it'll kind of open the door to explore other books by Christina Lauren. So I'm really excited about this one too. And then the last one that I have with me is a new release. It just came out at the end of January or mid-January, and it's called Shipped by Angie Hockman. And this, literally on the back of it, it says The Unhoneymooners meets The Hating Game. So that's exciting. I haven't read either of those 2 books yet, but as you saw, they're both on my TBR for this year. So hopefully after I read both of them, I'll open this one and dig into it and love it just as much. Again, it's an enemies to lovers, and I love that trope. So big fan, really excited. I've heard mixed things. I've heard it kind of falls flat at the end, but I don't know. I'm still excited to read it, and I'm highly anticipating reading this book. So the next 2, I think, 2? Yeah, 2, looking at my notes. The next 2 that I am really excited about are new releases that they have not been released yet this year, and that is Act Your Age, Eve Brown, and Isn't It Bromantic? Those are the 2 that I'm highly anticipating as new releases this year. Act Your Age, Eve Brown is the 3rd installment of the Brown Sisters series, and it's about the youngest sister, Eve, obviously, in her love story. And then Isn't It Bromantic is the 4th installment of the Bromance Book Club, coming out about Vlad, or as they call him in the book, the Russian. He has his own story, and I'm so excited to explore that one. That one's going to be hilarious. And so those are the 2 that I am highly anticipating for this year, and but I don't have yet because they're not out yet. All right, and last I want to talk about my romance recommendations from and for this year. So anything, if you're new to romance, these are going to be some books that I've read this past year that I really, really, really loved. Or ones that maybe I didn't love so much or I thought were just kind of eh. I have a pretty big list considering that romance is most of what I read last year, because it's just fun. Romance books are just fun to read. So the first ones I'm going to talk about are the two that I have right in front of me. And the first one I'm going to talk about is the Bromance Book Club. So I've talked about this one already because I have Crazy Stupid Bromance in my February TBR and Isn't It Bromantic on my Am Anticipated list. But the Bromance Book Club in general is just such a fun read. I read it in 2 days, and that's really fast for me. I read the first two, so I own the first one and the third one, but I don't have the second one. I took it out from the library, so I don't have that one in my possession, but I loved this book. I thought it was super interesting that it's usually romance novels, I feel like, are centered around the woman's point of view, and like, yeah, okay, sometimes it's a dual point of view and you get multi points of view and the story being told from the man and the woman, but this one is very focused on the men and this group of men specifically, and it's so fun and you're just rooting for all of them. You want all of them to have it be okay and find their love, find their true love, and it's so fun, and it's very self-aware. Like, it's a very self-aware book, and it's such a fun read. I got all my friends to read it. I love this book. Everybody should read it. Okay. And then the next one that I have next to me is Take a Hint, Dani Brown. This is actually the second book in the Brown Sisters series. I actually checked out both of them, Get a Life, Chloe Brown, and this book from the library, but my fiance heard how much I loved this book just from me talking about it nonstop, and he got it for me for Christmas. So love that for me. But this book is so good. Both of them, Get a Life, Chloe Brown, and Take a Hint, Dani Brown, were both 5 out of 5 for me. I loved both of them, but I loved this one more for somehow. I don't know how I could have loved this one more, but I did. And that's why it's such a fun read. The way that this author, Talia Hibbert, she writes those intimate scenes is so good. She does it so well. And I feel like those scenes can be really sweet, really steamy, and then just cross the line really fast into ooh, cringy, this is weird. This is weird. And I don't get that. I don't feel like I'm intruding while I'm reading this. I don't feel any type of way. I just feel like, oh, okay, cool, this is happening and it's steamy and that's what I'm here for. But yeah, this was just written so well, and these characters are so awesome, and you're rooting for them the whole time, and I love this one. So those are the two that I have. The next ones I'm going to talk about, I either took out from the library, or I read on ebook, or listened to an audiobook, or borrowed, so I don't have the physical copies here, but I will mention them, and hopefully I could pop up their cover next to me over in this area. The first one I wanted to talk about was a series, and I think it's called the Hot and Hammered series. There's 3 books right now. It's called Fix Her Up, Lover or Loser, and Tools of Engagement. And Fix Her Up was okay. It was a friends to lovers, fake dating kind of trope, which is not my favorite, but I didn't hate the book. It was okay. It was a fun read. I got slightly frustrated with these characters, and I'm like, what are you doing? But overall, I didn't think it was that bad. Lover or Loser, just don't read it. That one was bad. Don't read it. It's a second chance romance, but here we are again with a classic woman who doesn't deserve to be treated the way she's treated by her husband. It's just not my jam. I dreaded finishing that book, and I probably should have just DNF'd it, but I can't. I needed to know what happened because I was invested in the woman in the story, and I didn't care at all about her husband. I didn't care about anything that was going on with them too, because it was weirdly possessive. It was just, I think the series as a whole, a lot of the men have possessive issues. So if that's triggering, that's something that's good to know. They're just very like overbearing at times, all the men in all three books. But the third one is Tools of Engagement, and that one was really good. That one I recommend reading. You don't even have to read the first two to enjoy the Tools of Engagement, because it was so good, and I read it so fast. Again, that wasn't Enemies to Lovers, so that's probably why I liked that one. But yeah, the first one was okay. The second one, don't bother. The third one was really, really good. I really liked that one. And then the next one I have on my list here, oh, it's a duology. I don't know what the duology is called, but the two books are called Resist and Reveal. And this one is a little bit more like on the steamy side, more scandalous side. And it's so good. So good. It's a book about a woman named Vaughn who runs an escort service. And that's where I'm going to leave it, because it's so good. And all you want, like the whole time I was reading these books, I was rooting for for the couple to stay together and work through their issues, and because there were a lot of issues that popped up and all kinds of crazy things happening, all kinds of things going on in their families. It just seems like everything was rooting against them, but you kept, as the reader, are rooting for them. And I loved that book. That's the duology so much. But you can't just read the first one because of the cliffhanger at the end. It's like, holy cliffhanger. So you have to get both of them. You have to read both of them. They're so good. They're so good. And then one that I actually just finished yesterday is Ties That Tether by Jane Igaharo. I hope I'm saying that right. It's probably not right. But this book is, again, that was also the first 5-star that I read this year. It was so good. It brought together two different cultures in like two cultures that I'm not super familiar with. It brought them together in a way that was just so well done. And so it just made my heart, flutter. I loved it. Loved it. And again, you're rooting for these characters. They've got crazy families, and because they're so deep rooted in their culture, their families are also very rooted in their culture, and they want them to kind of, their two characters are really worried about losing their culture and their traditions because they're with the other one. It's so good. Yeah, definitely 5 out of 5 for me this year. So that's that one. And then I have some honorable mentions. The first one is You Had Me at Hola. That was a really cute story. It was about two actors on a soap opera show and kind of their story, how, their background and how they get together. The next one is One to Watch. And One to Watch I thought was actually really cute. It wasn't super in love with it. It was definitely more like chick lit for me, which, I'm not like a super fan of, and I hate that term. But yeah, that one was really cute. It's about a woman who is a plus-sized fashion blogger, and she gets to be on the lead on a show that's like The Bachelorette, and it's her story through that and how she meets all these guys and how they treat her, and it talks a lot about, being plus-sized and in the public eye and the scrutiny and stuff that that plus-size women face. So I thought it was very well done. It was a mixed media type of book too. So there were clips from podcasts, there were clips from Twitter and articles, and I thought it was a really well written book, and I thought it was really well done, but I thought it was going to be more on the romance side. It was definitely more like the chick lit side, which is fine, but it just, I don't know. It didn't do what I wanted it to do, but it was still a really good book. And then my last one that I wanted to mention is, it's two. They're called Trust Me and When the Stars Align, and they're, again, part of the same series. But again, those ones just kind of fell a little flat for me. The first one felt very like knockoff 50 Shades. Like Trust Me felt very knockoff 50 Shades. And When the Stars Align was just kind of okay. When the Stars Align was a friends to lovers or a second chance romance, and so again, that's probably why I didn't vibe with that one. But Those were some honorable mentions. They were still good. I did enjoy reading them while I was reading them, but I don't think they're books that I would go and pick up again and that I would remember forever. But yeah, they're still really good books, and those are my romance recommendations. Wrap up. I just kind of talked about what I read this past year, but in case you're looking for romance novels, like hopefully those titles will give you an idea of what's out there, and if you want to go research them further, you can research them further. That's all I have for today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a fabulous day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.